So this is the first video in the series, and this is the most important step to make sure that you complete it properly to get started. The first thing we're going to do in this video is actually quite simple, but it's going to take some time. It'll probably take more time on this particular step than the other ones, but you need to get it fully completed. All we're going to talk about is cash flow. It's that simple. And as the name implies, we're talking about money in, your income, wherever that may be coming from. Let's just assume for the moment you just have one job and there's the income coming in. Maybe it comes in twice a month. Money in coming to you. And then money out. Very basic, right? All of your expenses. So next, I'm going to show you a Google spreadsheet. What we're not going to do is we're not going to use fancy software where you have to log in and you have to connect it to your bank accounts and then it pulls in all that information and you end up spending all your time trying to learn software instead of trying to figure out just the basics of what's going on with your finances. So I've got a link in the description to a Google spreadsheet, which is completely free. It's already filled out. I'll show you how to just make a copy of it so you can use it yourself. And what you're going to need to do in this step is gather every type of statement where you spend money. In other words, bank statements, because you're using probably your debit card to pay for things, and credit card statements. The credit cards, you can see every month exactly what you're spending and where. Usually you can just go to their websites and download these statements or they'll come in the mail. But let's do 3 months worth. And the reason is some months you might have something out of the ordinary, an expense that you wouldn't normally have. So in order to normalize things, let's get 3 months of statements. So gather those together and then watch the rest of this video where I walk you through the spreadsheet. And at the very end of this video, the goal is we're going to see money in and money out to determine if there's an imbalance, right? If more money is going out the door than's coming in, there's obviously a problem. If more money's coming in than's going out, that's good, but it doesn't mean it's perfect. And it doesn't mean it's actually right. So you want to be able to check. This is going to be a tedious step, but put everything down because you might be surprised. For example, I always am surprised at how much money I may spend during the month at restaurants or eating out. In my head, I might think, oh, I only went out a couple times this month. And then I look at my bank statement, I realize, wow, I ate out a lot more than I normally would. So in order to make sure you're honest with yourself, you're going to need to go through these statements and put them in the spreadsheet. So watch the rest of this video, go through the steps, and at the end, we'll determine money in, money out, and then we'll move on to the next video. Ultimately, we're going to get you out of debt faster and get you in control of your finances.
So here's the spreadsheet, and it's all inside of one workbook, if you will. In the first sheet, we've got, and what we're going to figure out is your actuals, what you're actually spending every month. Let me show you how this is laid out. We're going to look at 3 months. And the reason you want to look at least 3 months, you can do more if you want, but it is quite time consuming. And this will be probably the longest of the videos in terms of the longest amount of time you'll have to put into filling something out. But it's well worth it because you have to do this step and you have to be honest with yourself. So put in the actual numbers. We're going to go back 3 months. You know, sometimes you might have one expense pop out of nowhere and 1 month might be a lot more money spent than other months. We're just trying to get an idea of an average of what you're spending. So you're going to want to gather your bank statements for your checking account and wherever you're spending money from, and particularly credit cards. If you have 2 credit cards and you're charging things to them, grab those statements. So let's just say that this is January, February, and March. Get all your statements for January, and then for February, and then March. Now for each one, we start here with your income. And this is going to be your after-tax income. So in other words, for salary and wages, look at your pay stub, and if you make $5,000 or $2,500, every 2 weeks, $5,000 for a month, then you put $5,000. If you have 2 incomes, 2 salaries, add it up and put it here. But after taxes, so let's say you make $7,000 a month, and then they take out the federal, the state, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. And at the very bottom, it says, this is what's deposited into your account. So you'll see, if you have the money deposited to your checking account, you'll see the number, exact number that hits your checking account. That's what you're putting here. If you have any other income, you would put it here. Maybe you've got another job, a side job, a part-time job, dividend income, anything like that. Okay, you just fill out these for month 1 and it will total it. Don't change when you see these already, these are pre-calculated. Okay, then as you scroll down for the month, you're going to put in blue, these are your expenses. You can see here it's in categories. You can change some of the terminology if you want, but housing, you've got, for example, your mortgage and your rent, insurance, utilities, any maintenance or repairs that you did. Then there's a transportation category. This is all pretty self-explanatory, but for example, your car payment, exactly what is that? Car payment 2, you've got, of course, your auto insurance, or if you take public transportation, what do you spend on a monthly basis? Now, this isn't you guessing. Again, go and take your checking account statement and look at it and go down through every single line item. And when you see one, you're going to go through and you're going to add up every time, for example, that you put gas in your car. Gas, 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 add all those up and put it in the gas. And then for the fuel, it's line 20. You can see it here. Or for example, your groceries, go through your statement, go through the credit cards, and then just check off so you know you've already added it up. Have a calculator, add up all the groceries and put them here for that month. So you're going to go through here, credit card. If you have a minimum payment or whatever payment that you actually made, put it here. This should cover about everything. It's got phones, it's got clothing. You'll find a place to put it. And then you're going to have, it's going to calculate this for you. It will add it all up and it'll have your total expenses. I'll give you an example in a minute. Last thing here is just savings. If you happen to put money into retirement savings or other types of savings accounts, you can put it here. And at the very end, it says automatically calculated, do not change. So don't change what you see in this big box here. It's going to show the income that you put at the top. It's going to total up all of your expenses. And then if you put any money into savings. And what this is going to show you when it says balance is you're either going to have a positive number or a negative number. If it's a positive number, then you've made more money than you spent that month. Great. It means you're spending less than you make. That's your goal. That way you can have extra money to do other things. If it's a negative number, then that means you're spending more than you make and you're going to have to make some cuts. Now, we're not going to adjust anything now. We're just going to fill out 3 months. If you scroll down here, you'll see there was an article. I put a link to it, and it shows here what they believe an average U.S. household brings in income and what they spend and in what categories. So just to give you an idea, on the other side of this dark line here, it says example, do not change. It's got the yearly and the monthly. I just took this from the article to give you an idea of what they say the average American salary is per month after taxes and where they spend and in what categories. For example, they have almost $1,000 for mortgage or rent and utilities and things like that. Don't worry about these actual numbers. It just gives you an idea so you can see what your side will look like. So here in this column is a month. They made or brought in other words, actually deposited into their checking account or whatever account they put the money in, a little over $6,000. They spent a little over $4,000, and they put $825 in savings. Here I've got, it just says savings. So in other words, they put that into, let's say, a savings account. Because a savings account you're not spending money from. You're just moving money in or moving money out. So they moved in. So then what happens in this box down here? This is an example of what you're going to see. It shows their income from the top, $6,000. It brings down their total expenses of a little over $4,000. And savings, they put $800. And their balance was $831, meaning they should have in their checking account $831. Because it was either spent, put in savings, and then that's what was left in that account. Now that's money, if it's positive, that you're going to be able to move and use to help you get out of debt. Because that's what we're trying to figure out here. We're going to go through all of your spending, see if you're positive or negative, and then we're going to make some adjustments, and then we're going to determine what your debt is and how we can service it and get rid of it fast. So please take the time to go gather your statements and add everything up and put them into these categories so you can see where you currently stand. So that's it for this video. Please move on to the next video in the series. You should see on the screen a next video at the top right, and then the entire playlist on the bottom right if you happen to have just jumped into this video and you want to start from the beginning and watch all the videos in series.